is Real Kyper and Bourne on Sportsnet 590 The Fan.
I was just going to ask you right before we were going to air, is it off the rails Friday? I can't tell.
That's how you know it's really off the rails.
When you don't know it's Friday.
Yeah.
It's the Jays with their afternoon games throwing us a curveball.
I don't know, like Jose Barrios, just throwing one down in the zone.
Okay, is it in his contract to have a really good year every other year?
It's the stagger deal. That's okay. Listen, he'll take it. I'll take the bounce back after last season.
He's Justin Bourne. I'm Nick Kypreos. We got Derek Brandeo, Jen Rolnick as usual, and Tristan.
Let's have it.
Marcagiani.
Yeah.
Filling
Right.
in for Sammy McKee, who's on assignment in where?
Where's Cabot?
Oh, Cabot. Has he sent us any pictures?
Yeah, he sent us one of a 80-foot, 9-foot breaking putt by the ocean. I hate him.
Well, if Sammy's out, we'll get Doug McLean in on his regularly scheduled Friday hit on the Real Kyper and Bourne show, which means that he hasn't listened since his last time he's been on.
No, he probably hasn't paid any hockey attention, but we'll get his info, get his input.
Oh, and I'm sure he's got a handful. So let's start with the insiders first, and we've got a great one here at Sportsnet. Elliot Friedman via 32 Thoughts, saying that the Leafs are pushing for an 8-year deal on Auston Matthews. We love Elliot, but is that not stating the obvious?
Well, that is stating the obvious.
Why would the Leafs not want an 8-year deal?
For sure. But the fact that he made, we actually have the clip. Why don't we listen to that?
Let's listen.
Let's do that first.
Brad Treliving did go to Arizona last week and he met with Auston Matthews. I have been convinced he's signing. Now I'm even more convinced he's signing. I don't know how much they talk contract, but the one thing I remember is, when was the last time that Brad Treliving had dinner with someone?
Was it Huberdeau?
Yes, it was Jonathan Huberdeau in Montreal.
Mm-hmm.
So 3 days after he signed the extension with Calgary, the 8-year, $84 million extension, it's already been longer than 3 days since Treliving met with Matthews. So we're not going to beat that. But I still am convinced that Auston Matthews is going to sign in Toronto. I think Matthews, and especially the people around him, they look at there's been 2 more big contracts in his future. I think the Maple Leafs are going to try to get a max term deal out of this. I don't know what the likelihood is, but I think they're going to try.
What did Elliot ask Jeff? When was the last time Brad Treliving had dinner with somebody?
He's been alone since.
I got to think he's had dinner with somebody else between that signing.
I think his point is he's a closer. He's a closer. ABC. I'm surprised.
Does that make you feel a little better if you're a Leaf fan?
Yeah.
That Elliot's really convinced that he's going to sign?
Yes, it does make me feel better because, Elliot knows stuff. I am surprised, though, and I did want to talk about that a little bit today, just because we had talked about potential next contracts for Matthews and what they would look like. It looked to a lot of us that it set up the 5-year deal to take him to UFA as young as possible. You would then want him to, you would think if he's trying to earn all the money he could, like a 3 to 5 year deal, then he's still 29 when he signs his next deal, and you can give him another 8-year deal at that point. 8 years now takes him to 33 years old or something like that. Not sure teams want to do 8 years at that point, but boy, for the Leafs, you love the idea of it.
I don't see an 8-year deal at all. And technically, they are negotiating still in a pandemic cap world, which means it's flat next year. And would Auston and his representative, Judd, be in a position to really forecast that this is where the cap's going to be definitively? Therefore, I want this number now. And I'm not sure he can get that number. The number that you foresee in the next 5 to 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning that don't touch the 8 or the 7-year deal.
If I'm Brad Treliving and I'm talking to Matthews, I say, you present him with, if you do an 8-year deal, you look like these other guys who care about their team. You want to stay. The city loves you. If we give you 14 or 13 It's an $8 million difference over 8 years. It's not a huge swing in where you're going to be in your life, but the fans will love you if you do 13. Would you do 8 times 13, somewhere in that neighborhood?
I can't see him touching 13 for 8 years.
No.
No.
You want 14?
I would think or 15. 14 or
Yeah.
15
Boy.
would be a number on 8 years for me if I'm Judd.
You know what kills me about these sort of contracts is I see people saying, like, what about McKinnon did 12.7, or what about Tkachuk going into this past year did 9.5. That Tkachuk deal immediately looks like the Marchand and McKinnon deals that looked so bad for so long.
If Auston would do that, he'd be such a hero overnight.
Yes.
In this city.
And what is the value of that? Honestly, what is the value, like, in terms of future earnings, your reputation, your ability to win?
Yeah. Which this year his reputation took a step back.
I think so.
No
Just
question.
as a player.
As a player, and
He wasn't one of the 10 best players in the NHL this year.
as a guy
maybe he was.
just simply for me, as a guy that you can watch. This is just, forget analytics, forget about goals and assists. Let's go with optic analytics. There's your new term from the Real Kyper and Bourne Show.
Perfect.
Optic analytics.
Yeah.
And I'm evolving. Thank you.
Nice drop.
Nice drop, Monty. He didn't pass that one for me.
Yeah.
When I look around and I see other players, and McKinnon last year or Eichel this year, the optic analytics says that guy's all in. All in.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of, is his wrist hurt? There's a lot of questions.
Stop it
No,
with
no,
the
but that's
wrist
the point.
hurt.
But this is the point.
That makes me nauseous when I hear his wrist.
Because he was playing the way he was, people asked those questions. The way he was playing led us to those questions. So even if it was or it wasn't, you can say there was a definitive, noticeable difference.
Matthew Tkachuk playing with a broken sternum.
Ugh, that's
Come on,
intense.
like Auston.
That's too much, by the way. You
needs-
shouldn't do that.
Don't try that at home,
No,
folks.
Don't.
But that's where Auston just has everything going for him. But that's the one thing that's missing is when we watch you this season, you don't look all in.
Well, the year before, when he won the Hart Trophy, I felt like there were times when he looked like Giannis Antetokounmpo. How'd I do? That was better.
The Greek Freak.
The Greek Freak going through the neutral zone, just like slicing, powerful, big through the middle, looking like, prime Adrian Peterson.
Yes.
That wasn't there this year.
Carrying players on his back
Right.
and still getting to the net and
Yes.
driving and finishing.
Yes. So that wasn't there for him. Still, I think he has earned the type of money he's going to get here, whether it is 14 or 13 or whatever. He's going to make a loud statement about his priorities with what he does. And so if I'm his agent, it might be worth saying, shelf some of the money, commit long-term, show the people you want to be here. I bet you if you do 8 years, you're the captain in a hot second. Maybe it's whenever Tavares is gone. I don't know. Whenever that is. That could be
Couple
part
years.
of it too. Yeah, a couple years right now. Could be sooner. Never know.
I'm here all day, I guess.
For 2 years.
Do you not think that him resigning and upping five years or plus that
Insta-captain?
they don't go, insta captain. You've been on this for a year and a half.
I have.
Like, just give it to him.
You want to sell the number 34 Toronto Maple Leaf
Yeah.
sweater with the C on the chest at some point here.
I would think that would be a carrot to dangle.
Do you think he really wants it? Or I know the organization
I got
would
a
want
better.
it for him.
Forget him. Forget him for a second. Okay, is he a captain? Okay,
Yeah.
answer that question before. Does he want it or not?
Yeah.
Is he? I didn't see captain
I don't
material
feel
last
equipped.
season.
I don't feel equipped. I don't know what goes on in that room, how much he speaks up.
Didn't see it. Didn't see a guy that definitively plays every night and says, "This is my team.
Yeah.
Jump aboard because we're going for a ride."
Yeah.
Didn't see it.
But there comes a point where if a guy is close, he gets the C. You know what I mean? Where it's a statement to the guy if you say, we're going to have no captain. Is a statement. Let's say Tavares leaves in 2 years and
That's
they're
a
like,
statement.
we're not sure if you're a real
Like,
captain, so we're not going to have one.
They signed
That's a statement.
To me, like, I'll go back to John Tavares signing.
Yeah.
You know what the statement was to me? That you signed John Tavares, at the time, you made him the second highest paid player in the league. You took away a franchise player who was a captain for the New York Islanders, and you don't put a C on him right away. He didn't get it till what, a year later?
Mm-hmm.
Like, why?
To me, he's never been in the room. It's not his team to come in and lead.
Oh, there's some guys you can just like. I know Mark Messier did it, but I get the fact that there's no Stanley Cup.
Literally name an award after his ability to lead teams.
I know, but there are just some guys are just the leader.
Yeah.
And
whether Matthews is or not, he's the face of this team, and they go as he goes. If he's bad, they're not going to win. If he's good, they can win. Fans perceive him as the face of the franchise.
Okay, let's answer your question then. Do you believe that he wants it?
I believe that he wants it from a perception standpoint, and I do think he's ready to handle the media. I think he's their best media guy. He does a good job managing the stress and the ups and downs of things.
Better than Morgan Riley?
Nah, that's a good point. Morgan's really good.
Really good.
Okay. Think he should be Morgan? Morgie, he's got
I
the
just,
long-term deal. He took a discount.
Can we say that even the fact that we're having this conversation on Morgan or Auston says that John Tavares isn't the guy?
Yeah. I feel bad because I'm a Tavares fan and I root for him and I think he's a good dude. But yeah, I don't see him as the face of this team at this point. He's not the driver on a night-in basis. He's not someone you look to.
And he can't carry a team.
Do you remember when Andrew Ference was named the captain of the Oilers and he was like healthy scratched at times?
Yes.
It's hard, right? And I'm not saying Tavares is Andrew Ference. That's but not the point.
Anytime you do that, and a good friend of mine's Chris King, he was the captain of Winnipeg. Yeah. It's hard for third or fourth liners to be that guy when he's not leading on the ice in the final minute.
And not even leading the guys when there's like 3 or 4 guys who like Mitch Marner and Matthews and maybe Willie next year who could be another 40-goal guy. Like there are players who are more important to the team, then it's hard to be the leader.
Would a 3-year deal or less bother you for Auston Matthews?
So bother me a little bit in secret, yes. Like that would be like, it's annoying that he feels like he's trying to wring the team every dollar he can out of it, right? Because that's what that feels like. Let me see the cap go up. Let me put up some numbers, and then let me ask you for 16. Like it feels a little like, why don't you just commit to the team and be here?
Well, that's the word, commit. It's a non-commitment. It's a dipping the toe in the water, not all in.
But 4 and 5 years is a long time. And I think that's a commitment.
Yes, I'm with you.
So I'm
minimum 4 or 5.
Right. Three does feel.
Tells me you're just waiting for maybe another building to show up in your home state.
Yeah, right. Like Arizona's got 1 billion draft picks and they're trying to build an arena. Maybe it is different in 3 years. And that's 4 years of playing time for him. Who knows?
Okay. We got Doug McLean in about 9-10 minutes. Other talk out there, if we're going to talk insiders, I think Darren Drager put out a report that the Leafs are shopping for assistant coaches, which can mean only one thing, that it's a foregone conclusion. Sheldon Keefe's coming back.
Well, yeah, the tweet itself says that Tree Living and Sheldon have met and that Sheldon has input on who the assistant coach is. Yeah. So that input implies you're going to be here, right? So they said no extension for him, but there's plenty of time to talk about that. But yeah, he's weighing in on who the assistant coach is, which makes you think Toronto Maple Leafs are going to be coached by Sheldon Keefe next season.
Which means, and I know we've had this conversation, but it has to come with an extension. You cannot let that guy go in and face 22 faces every day.
Who think if we lose 5 in a row, he's gone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Can't do it.
But, the good question here is, if you're Sheldon, would you even sign a 1-year extension?
That's a good point.
Not a chance. A 1 year is just like walking to the execution line.
I see you make an excellent point right now because I'm with you. If I'm Sheldon, I'm like,
1 year, just fire me.
No. I had 100
115, then 111.
115, 111.
Beat the three-time
Right.
defending Eastern champs in the playoffs.
There's 16 other teams that didn't make the playoffs.
Yeah.
So
1 year's offensive.
that's right. Give me 2 or 3.
And I guess if you're the Leafs, you're like, well, we're MLSE, we can afford it. But I don't think they like paying Mike Babcock $1 bajillion to not coach. I don't think that's fun. So when you go through the business bottom line, you go, this money, can we not do that? Can we not pay ex-coaches?
Listen, I kind of hung out with some billionaires the last little while.
Rounding error stuff.
They don't like wasting money.
No, they don't.
Okay, you got to quit
That's
with
how
the
they get there.
attitude. Even MLSE, deep pockets and all, they don't like wasting money.
No.
Hey, Rogers, Bell, they don't like wasting money. It's insulting to people in high positions.
Affects that stock price, man.
Whatever the case is, JB, they don't want to pay any more than they have to. So this one's going to be interesting to see if Sheldon takes the token 1-year contract and goes to work.
Yeah, I bet you it's 2.
A 2-year extension.
Yeah. Right. If you're him, he wants to coach the
He's
Toronto
got
Maple
1 year
Leafs.
left. So
Yeah.
you're saying starting September, he will have 3 more years out of the Toronto Maple Leafs. See,
Yeah.
I think that's too much. That's too rich for me.
Yeah. But again, it's a hard sell to tell a coach to take a 1-year contract, isn't it? Because it's not a commitment.
Well, listen, we're right back to.
But if I'm
maybe
Sheldon,
a
I
standoff.
want to coach the Leafs. He is from Ontario. He is a Maple Leafs guy. He wants this. And then you get 2 years to win. And
maybe Kyle can give him some advice on betting on yourself.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Should we squeeze that in?
Just one more thing, though, on the assistant coaches. To me, who are they interviewing and who's it going to be? Is it going to be
They're like, Gallant's your assistant coach. He's like, oh, God.
For sure. Like, it's going to be someone with NHL experience. They're not going to go get another Carberry. They're not going to pull some kid who's never been in an NHL dressing room before.
I think it's all one way or all the other. It's this exact thing you're talking about. It's a guy you've never heard of who makes Sheldon feel safe.
And Sheldon doesn't need to be feeling safe. He may need someone to say, if you don't deliver the goods by November, bud, you're gone.
You know who the angel of death there is Mike Yeo. Was Mike Yeo not taking over like 40 coaches' jobs as an assistant? Maybe that's a bit high.
I'm going to give you a name.
Maybe it's 3.
I'm going to give you a name.
Okay.
Kirk Muller.
That would make me feel a lot of pressure. If I were
Calgary
Sheldon.
Flames.
Yeah. Oh, right,
Brad Tree Living.
Right. Has been a head coach in the league.
Been a head coach in the league before. Former Toronto Maple Leaf. Had success in Carolina.
I'll be honest. In my head, I just went, boy, one day Kirk Muller's going to be the coach of the Leafs, isn't he? Interesting. Yeah. That would make some sense. And I would say one thing that might dissuade that idea is Sheldon Keefe having input, because I am not selecting Kirk Muller to be my guy. I've long been like, get the best guy available and win, but there you got to protect yourself a little bit.
When Rick Tocchet was out there, I think there was something between him and the Leafs, and I'm not sure that guy would have made Sheldon very comfortable.
Yeah,
but
everyone's been too comfortable here.
I was under the impression that maybe Tocchet turned down the Leafs
as an assistant,
as Sheldon's assistant.
Yeah.
I can't confirm that, but that was some of the scuttlebutt.
Wasn't that a Boudreaux thing once upon a time too? Someone else.
Well,
how do you turn it down?
Listen, they don't want to be over. They don't want a big shadow over them.
It's an awkward spot too, as those guys. If you're clearly there to supersede the guy if things go wrong.
Yeah. Kirk Muller, Stanley Cup champion, Montreal Canadian, Toronto Maple Leaf.
Yeah.
First pick overall.
You're in the room and he's like, you know what, Sheldon, I don't like that power play setup.
Sheldon, scrap that, bud.
Is this guy trying to, subvert me here?
When did you ever win, Sheldon?
Yeah, that'd be awkward.
Yeah, kind of awkward.
Well,
so
that will be
interesting.
Yeah.
Real interesting. Okay. Speaking of Kyle Dubas.
Yes.
Can he just go away?
No, what? Dubas stories forever. We're going to play Dubas stories all year. We're on Penguins watch.
All right. Do we have a Kyle Dubas soundbite from Brock University?
Yeah, he was given an honorary doctorate at Brock and spoke and made some comments about his time with the Leafs.
Okay, let's have a listen.
Oftentimes when people are invited to give addresses like this, they have far more life experience and far more wisdom, far more success that they can impart onto the graduates and their families. So though I felt honored, I felt a great deal of imposter syndrome as well. But on May 19th, I was fired from my job with the Toronto Maple Leafs. And it was at that point, after thinking for a couple of months after Dr. Ig had called, exactly what I wanted to say, and what I could be helpful with. I'd never been fired before. That was my first time. Hopefully my last, but I'll probably get that same conversation again at some point. That's life and the way that it goes. As Dr. Ig just said, embrace failure. We've had a lot of failure in my time with the Leafs and Sault Ste. Marie, and I'm happy to share that with you at all times. That's the way it goes.
You would have scored a few more points with me if you would have just said, I got myself fired.
Well, I will say the only thing that stood out when I first heard that clip, which I feel bad even playing that clip. I really do. But
Go ahead.
the first thing that stood out to me is like, did he really get fired? Like, how many people getting fired are offered like $20 million contracts? Do you really get fired when they offer you a contract to stay and then you trip on your own shoelaces on the way to sign it?
My first thought was,
You really get fired.
just shut up. Don't talk about it
No,
anymore. Move on.
How do you give
Why
a
do you
speech
wanna-
like that and not talk about it?
No, you don't have to. Just be bigger than that. To me, it still lacks maturity on his part.
I'll hear
Saying
it.
he got fired. Like, you sound like a whiny little
He's
Caillou.
imparting his wisdom. Oh, Caillou. Sorry, just parent shudder down my spine. But
Why? What, JB, give me one reason why he would give another dig in
It's not
and
a
just
dig.
draw all that emotion up. Why can't you just say, great experience, I'm happy to move on, and just let it go?
Everything's great.
he's imparting his wisdom, embracing failure, which, he makes a joke of. And I get it. I just feels too big to ignore. And he had to make a comment about it. But
Oh, I just think, no, be bigger than that.
yeah.
Just
But
rise above it and move on.
it's going to be crazy watching him and Spezza and whoever the GM is, who you presume is a Leaf guy,
Can't wait for that schedule
run
to
the
come out.
Penguins. Oh, my God, I know. And it's not even going to affect the on-ice play, you wouldn't think. But there's going to be some media. That's for sure.
Yeah, this is they gotta move Pitt in the Atlantic.
So they'll get him 3 times next year, I presume. That's fun. But yeah, it's he is still a hot button issue for a lot of Leafs fans, and it's like an ex, a bad relationship people think about for a while.
We are in a buyout period right now. Lots of talk. Another insider, Chris Johnston, saying that Bunting, Kerfoot, and Hull are not expected to return. No real surprise there either, with what they probably think should be similar salaries or even a pay raise going into their free agency.
It'll be interesting because it's not easy to get, big right-handed D-men who can play. Justin Hull is a free agent. I wonder if he gets more than the $2 million per season he got here. Kerfoot's a guy who's played 17 minutes a night and put up numbers. Bunting, it's fascinating to see what these guys are in somewhere else.
The one question for me as we wait for Doug McLean to join us on Off the Rails Friday is really, I know the focus is on Auston Matthews, and as Elliot said, whether it's an 8-year deal or not, is Ryan O'Reilly.
Mm-hmm.
For me, that one's real interesting. If they can bring him back, and that'll shape the fourth line as well.
Yeah.
If they don't get Ryan O'Reilly, all of a sudden David Kampf becomes real important again to them.
Yeah.
But if you get Ryan O'Reilly, then Kampf's gone, and you bring in your 850 Pontus.
Yeah.
Holmberg.
You're on your pontoon boat.
Right?
Pontus boat.
Does that make
Yep.
sense to you?
It does. We have Doug with us if you want to throw to Doug. Or,
No, let's go to Doug.
okay.
Have you been paying attention this last little while in the NHL? Because we got a lot to talk about, or you just been sweeping the porch? in Summerside?
Drop of death. I heard the drop at the boop. We got booped.
Oh, did we get booped?
We booped.
And Sam's not here?
Oh, man.
Wow, Tristan, welcome to the Sammy Club. He's got about, 15, 20 drops to go?
Yeah. Yeah. I wonder what the year total was. We should keep
All
a
right,
running
we'll get
tally
Doug
next
back.
season. But to answer you where you were going with that, I love David Kampf, like big Kampf guy, want him on my team. He is the exact guy that you love at 1.5, 1.9, 2.1. But the second he's worth $3 million and he can't score. Can you have a $3 million center who plays in your third line and gets you no points?
Well, again, yeah. Where's Ryan O'Reilly? And is he your third line centerman?
Because third line centers on championship teams.
What do you think Ryan
score.
O'Reilly could get on the open market? 5?
Yeah,
5.5?
But term is 4 years times 5.5, probably.
All right, let's go back to Off the Rails Friday with Doug McLean. You've been where are you, on the porch? You on the golf course? Pickleball is Florida, so we'll exclude that in Summerside. Doug.
Yeah.
What's going on?
Yes. I've been busy today. I've had a lot of yard work to do. So.
Yeah, that's what I figured. I said you were on the porch.
Yeah, but I've been working. I had to dig out some stuff around our garage and just some different things, So
we were speaking earlier.
Plugging away.
We were.
But
Go ahead.
I just realized the Vegas Golden Knights. It just hit me watching the Vegas Golden Knights win the Stanley Cup. All the Leafs have to do to be in the Cup final is do the same as they did with Stone, put Tavares on LTI all year, bring him back the last game of the season, and take him right through the playoffs. That's all they have to do. That's what Tampa did. That's what Vegas did. Just go ahead, go to the $100 million cap number or $95 million, and put them on LTI for the season. Let them get rested up.
Sure, but in the meantime, the hot button topic here is Auston Matthews, and as Elliot Friedman reported, that Tree Living had already gone down to Arizona and talked to him. Hey, by the way, did you ever envision in all your years of being an executive, and I exclude free agents in this, but you would have to go across North America to visit a player and beg him to sign again?
I never really thought that the first week as a dream job of being general manager of the Toronto Maple Leafs that you would have to go and recruit like you're with the Pee Wee travel team. Like you had to go over to Don Mills to recruit a kid to come and play over in Oakville. Seriously, anyway. You know what? That's where we've gotten here. I'll never forget it, guys. And I've told you this before. When the collective bargaining agreement was signed, and I phoned Gary Bettman, I said, Gary, you're not serious. You didn't give players unrestricted free agency in 7 years. Please tell me that I didn't get that right. And he said to me right on the phone, he said, yeah, Doug, that's the way it is. I will protect you for 7 years, and after that, you're on your own. Well, that's what he just told the Leafs.
They're on their own.
For 7 years, and after that, they're on their own. And Gary put that in the collective bargaining to get it done. That's why he did it, to get it done.
Doug, what are the conversations like where you try to convince a player they're not worth as much money as they want? Like, I can imagine Tree Living saying to Matthews, yeah, we want you, but I don't want to pay you that much. Like, how hard is it to sort of massage that carefully?
I don't think it's that complicated. I think you just take the best players in the game. Does Matthews think he's a better player than Connor McDavid? Really, really deep down, does he think he's a better player than Connor McDavid? Did Connor McDavid, I know it was a couple of years ago.
Yeah, like they're signed at different times, so wouldn't that be Matthews' rebuttal?
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair, but it's still the highest paid player in the game, It's still, who's the highest paid player in the game? And yeah, we're going to have to massage it here, But can he not be the highest paid player in the game and still be okay for the Leafs? Does he have to go to $14 million, or does he have to go
Right.
$1.7 million past Connor McDavid? No, I'll never forget doing Rick Nash's contract. I had to give $100 more than Kovalchuk got in Atlanta because Rick was the first overall pick the next year, and they wanted more money than the previous first overall pick.
You say $100?
Did you pull it out of your pant pocket and give it to him?
I didn't. You know me. I didn't have 100 on me. I promised it to Gord Kirk, that I would give him the $100 to get him over to Kovalchuk, But Gord was good enough to give me credit on it,
Max, some.
So anyway, but
so what is the number that works for you? He's at 11.6. Mac, he's at 11.6. Nathan McKinnon is now the highest paid player, I believe, at 12.6. What is the number that works for you and it doesn't work for the Toronto Maple Leafs? What is the number that does not work?
Well, I don't have him in Connor McDavid or Nathan McKinnon's category. I don't have him in those two players' category for me, especially after what I watched this year.
So you would be negotiating a contract lower than those two players if you were talking to him.
I would be 100%.
Wow.
Because he's not as good a player as either one of them. He's not as good as either one of them. For me, he's not.
Okay.
Really, this year was not a good year. I mean, he was great at times, but he was pretty average at lots of times too. So I don't know what's he want. 14?
Lots. I don't know. Speaking of that money,
I don't know what they do.
If you can get him around that category, those guys, it would free up some extra dollars to pay your coach, that you wouldn't have to spend, I guess. What are your thoughts on the idea of Sheldon Keefe coming back? Drager reporting that Sheldon is working on picking the new assistant coach, which, makes me think he's going to be around.
Yeah, I'm surprised. I mean, not that Sheldon didn't do a reasonable job. He's had good regular seasons. He's had limited playoff success. I mean, we just watched Jerry Gallant get fired in New York after back-to-back 100-point season, but he went to a conference final, and he lost in the first round this year. But he went to a conference final and he lost to a team in the playoffs that finished ahead of him in the standings. I'm a little surprised he's back. I thought that Tree Living would want to make a statement, that I'm bringing my own guy in. That's what I would have thought. That, it's time for – I'm the new general manager. It was an ideal opportunity to bring his own coach in. But obviously he likes Sheldon enough and trusts him enough. I mean, I think Sheldon's a pretty good coach, but I haven't really been that inspired by his playoff coaching for sure. So
we're talking to Doug McLean.
I mean, I didn't think they deserved to beat Tampa in the first round, but that's just I thought other than 5 minutes of 2 or 3 of those games, they didn't deserve to win that series. But anyway, that's fine. I mean, he did win it, so I guess you have to give him credit for that. And I mean, look, he's done a great job in the regular season.
He's former NHL president, GM, and head coach Doug McLean. Mac, if you were now in a position where the Leafs are shopping for assistant coaches, and the report also had that Sheldon is a part of that. If you're Sheldon, do you want an experienced NHL guy, maybe even had head coaching experience in the past, looking over your shoulder? I threw out Kirk Muller for the link between Brad Treliving and Kurt last season in Calgary. Would that a guy like that make Sheldon uncomfortable?
Well, and I don't think you can be uncomfortable. You've got to go with the attitude. I'm going to bring in the best person I can bring in that's going to help me and us win. And I would be going for the most experienced guy I can find. Like a name that I'm hearing that's out there that's up for some associate coaching jobs is Travis Green, with NHL experience, a bit of a players type guy. I'm not saying he's the guy, but that type of guy with at least that type of background to me would be, you don't want a guy that's looking for your job, obviously, but that's part of it.
Aren't they all looking for your job eventually?
Right.
They are. That's fine. But, Lindy Ruff, we brought in, the coach last year that was supposed to take his job 10 games into the season, and Lindy had the best game of one of the best years of his coaching career, other than in Buffalo when he went to the finals. So I think you can't look at it that way. I think you got to look at, I want the best guy that's going to help our team, is going to help me in the dressing room. I listened to these geniuses they had on the bench last year, how great they were with the power play, and I'm thinking, what am I missing here? This guy is a genius power play guy, and what was I missing with the genius part of that? Then he gets a head job. So I just think you got to have a guy that's going to help you with your role with the players, and you got to have a guy that can sit down and talk to some of these stars and tell them what it's really like when it really counts at playoff time. That's what I think they really need.
Yeah.
And Sheldon should be looking for that type of guy, a guy that's going to put their big boy pants on at the right time of year and help them get them there.
For sure.
Help them strap their pants on.
I am curious to see if,
that's my opinion,
the guys in Ottawa are looking for work, or what's going to happen there with that ownership group, with that GM, with that coaching staff. It feels like we've been waiting for that to kind of settle in a little bit. What are your thoughts on what's going on there in Ottawa? DeBrincat goes to arbitration today. Seems likely that he could get potentially traded at some point here. What are your thoughts on the Senators situation?
Well, it's a tough situation because they've really got some really good people in place there from a player perspective to really take a big step. They're one team I look at, them and Buffalo, that are going to contend for a playoff spot this year. They should. And I really, really like their makeup, from Sanderson on the back end becoming a star to the kids they have up front, Kachuk and Stutz. So I see them as some great pieces there to take a major step. And, with the ownership in flux, and it's in flux until he's approved by the NHL, I just read the other day there's a lot of paperwork to do to get that done. Yeah, there's a lot of paperwork to be done. There's a lot of negotiating to be done before this is done. This is a time when big guys, whether it's a big corporation being taken over by another corporation, where some of the big negotiations take place and you try to shave dollars off the proposed $900 million price tag, whatever it really was, that's when you're really negotiating hard to say, oh, you guys were 31st in the league in revenue last year? Ouch. You guys were 31st in the league? I thought you were like 28. So that'll be fun, and that's going to take time. And then the board, they've got to be approved, and the money's got to be all in place. I think there's a lot of work to be done before he can say who's in charge and who's not in charge. So Dorian, to me, I don't know how they do anything with Dorian and DJ Smith till, well into the season.
Hey, you speak of experience with this, because I'll never forget. I don't know where. I think I was on vacation or something. I don't know where I was, but popped up you and a Tampa Bay Lightning logo in the background on a press conference. And I'm like, oh my God, Doug McLean is now part owner of the Tampa Bay Lightning. And it didn't happen. How in the world do you get the green light to do a major press conference and not end up with the team?
Well, it was pretty simple. I was part of a group that had a contract in place to sign contract with the Palace of Auburn Hills, who were the owners of the Tampa Bay Lightning. We had a purchase agreement done and signed, and it was a hard, fast contract with the Palace to buy Tampa Bay Lightning. And I'll never forget, as long as I live, we walked off the stage, and one of the main guys said to me, Doug, we just lost the group from Toronto that we're going to put $20 million into the deal. And I said, oh, great, that's fun. And then, you know what, we started to, that was in September, October, I believe it was, and And we worked till December 1st trying to close the deal, trying to raise $20 million to close the deal. And it didn't happen. Orrin Koulis was a partner of ours, and Orrin was trying to work his own deal to try to get the team. And we ended up we had to go and meet with Gary Bettman and Daly in New York, and the lawyers of our lawyers and Orrin's lawyers, and Orrin Koulis took us out of the deal and paid us to leave the deal, and he took it over, and the rest is history. He lost it after a couple of years, I think. We were paying $200 million for the team is what our deal was, $200 million for the Tampa Bay Lightning, and I noticed that Vinny bought it for $170 a couple of years later. So,
did I not read a report that they're worth
$1.4
$1.4 billion? What would if you would have kept it and they're worth 1.4?
You wouldn't be doing this show.
Business partner said to me the other night, you know, that Doug, if we would have got the Tampa Bay deal done, you'd be worth $200 million right now. And I said, oh, okay. Well, anyway, Jeff Sharon. He's my partner, and you know we do a lot of real estate stuff together. We have for years. Jeff's biggest thing with that Tampa Bay deal was he wanted the 5.5 acres that was basically on the Tampa Bay waterfront as part of that deal. That was the driving force behind him trying to get that deal done. And Vinnick has taken that land and just turned it into. He's partnered with Gates, and they've turned it into just an unbelievable machine. So they knew what they were doing too, because the real estate was really valuable.
Wow. Well, we'll see how this thing plays out and how fast it takes Andlauer to kind of close, because right now decisions need to be made. DeBrincat's the biggest one.
Yeah, and that's the big decision. I think they did the right thing by taking him to Arb. Now it buys them some time to make a trade. So I think it was a smart move. They can't lose him for nothing with paying a first, second, and third round pick for him at the draft last year. So they can turn it into, a draft pick and a prospect or something. At least they get something for him. So they're not getting him. That's for sure. He'll be gone. So
all right, we're on summer hours, man.
But it's not great leverage.
Gotta let you go,
guys. I really appreciate it.
Hey, listen, just sit back on your dock and have a glass of wine and just think about the $200 million you lost.
Listen, we've talked to him from Portugal and Florida this year. He's doing okay.
Oh yeah, I just got sick to my stomach thinking about it again.
All right, change the subject. All right, that's
okay,
Doug McLean, former NHL
Thanks,
president, GM, and head coach. Always a treat on a Friday.
He is.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break.
Yeah.
And then you're back with your playoff picks.
U.S. Open.
You ready?
Yes.
Okay. Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne. We are real Kyper and Bourne. If you get a chance, give us a rating and review or a thumbs up on our YouTube channel. Back after these words.
Iginla hired and
This is Real Kyper and Bourne on Sportsnet 590 The Fan.
In for Semi McKee on playoff picks. JB.
It's time for playoff picks presented by Bet365. Visit the app for the latest odds. Watching the U.S. Open right now, and we're doing golf because there's no hockey. What do you mean? We talked about next year's Cup winner. I actually think this may be our last one of the year, so let's make it count. Appreciate Bet365 being on board for this.
All right.
Looking at the odds. Here you go, Kip. We got Xander Schauffele is the favorite right now at plus 300. He is tied for the lead with Wyndham Clark and Ricky Fowler. Couple guys a little bit farther back. Dustin Johnson, plus 2,000. Like the DJ is a former champion at plus 2,000.
So, like,
he's minus four.
These
four
odds would have started before the round.
I actually have I'm looking at the updated, like currently right now where
good
we're
for
at.
you.
Yes, thank
You're
you.
a smart better.
You know what I mean?
Do we know where the leaderboard is?
Yeah, right here. We got Wyndham Clark at -8, Fowler -8, and Schauffele -8. But after that, it falls down to -5. So, you know, if you think those three, that pack is going to get caught, you can get DeChambeau at plus 2,500.
Yeah.
Tony
he
Finau.
looks thin to me, right?
I actually saw
how much weight did he lose?
a lot. I saw an interview he did with the No Laying Up guys who are wonderful. And they were like, you've, trimmed up a little. He's like, I was fat.
Off of the juice.
He goes, I was fat. He goes,
was he fat?
That's what he said. He goes, you can say it, I was fat.
Okay.
He's like, there's your clip. I was fat.
All right. You know where everybody's thinking about, eh?
Yeah, well, suddenly his ball speed's 6 million and he's ripping at it. He did look awfully big, awfully fast. But
Now, Ricky Fowler.
plus 600.
What do you think? Like, he tees off late. Remember, it's in California.
Yeah.
So I'm watching it yesterday, and my wife's like, well, when's the golf? And,
I know,
and
it's
I'm like,
amazing. The West Coast golf.
It's going to get dark soon.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's dark
10 at
here.
night.
I'm like, I'm still watching golf. She's like, you've rewound it and you're watching it over again. And I'm like, no, it's live.
Yeah. Oh, I know. It's such a treat. Turn it on at night like it's a live sporting event. Well, it is, but it's awesome. Fowler, wonderful story. Guy who was outside the world top 100 for a while after being, everyone's darling golfer. Now tied for the lead, teeing off this afternoon. I'm rooting for him. He's plus 600.
Yeah. What do you think of the golf course? Did you get a good look at it on TV?
Yeah. Greens look like they're going to be pretty treacherous by the end of the week. Yeah.
Like, they just tap the ball and it goes forever.
Yeah.
But they scored well. Like, that was 2 records.
Yeah. Two scores of 62, which had only been done once before in PGA history in a U.S. Open.
What did Nick Taylor end up, even or +1?
I actually didn't see. I saw some of the Canadians played well beyond him.
I don't know. I wonder what it feels like for a golfer coming off a high.
Is he
that
sober yet?
Fast.
Is he sober yet? Do you think? He's
And
still
then,
got some Molson's in his bag?
It's not like that might be an issue for. It's got to be a huge issue for the Canadian Open. Is that you can't go right into the U.S. Open? Is that a plus or a negative?
It's a bad spot for the Canadian Open, and they frankly they deserve better. It's been a great tournament for years now. The guys like playing there. Nick Taylor is plus 200,000 right now. What is he? 1,000 over? Anyway, his number's really long. So yeah, just my pick then is I'm doing Victor Hovland plus 3,300.
Okay.
We'll wrap it up there.
Nice
that has been
job.
Playoff Picks presented by Bet365. Visit the app for the latest odds.
As we've turned this show into a golf hour.
Well, what do you want us to do? There is a couple minutes left here. And
Iginla?
Yeah.
Thoughts on Iginla? Because it sounds like it's that special advisor. I get to come and go when I want advisor.
How about the feel-good Calgary Flames? I saw someone called Craig Conroy the Ted Lasso of the NHL. Everyone loves the guy. Now Iginla, who is like the exact same sort of thing. They went from Daryl Sutter to just rainbows and sunshine.
I don't know if that
Huberdeau and Weegar got their way.
That is a big swing.
That is. You can't be too comfy. We've seen it here in Toronto where I think people would say that at times things were too comfortable.
Yeah.
I think it's a fair point.
It's good cop, bad cop.
Yeah. Yeah, you need a little bit of that, don't you? The bad
or
cop.
Bad cop, good cop.
Either way, you need a bad cop in there.
But it seems like between Doan and Iginla and Keith Jones, there's that next generation now stepping into some really important jobs.
Yeah.
But it's hard because I don't know, what did Iginla make in his career? 80 million, 100?
Oh God, he
right?
made so much money.
Like, money's not the motivator here. It's to win again, but
Well, Iginla was waiting for his son, I think, so he'd stop coaching him. Iginla career earnings 91 million, and that was, he retired in 04 or something. No, sorry, never mind. 14.
yeah. The one thing when you're dealing with guys like that,
17.
and I'm not speaking of Jerome, I'm just saying in general, is how much are they willing to work?
Yeah, good question. And that's related to the money. It's like, yeah, we'll give you this to be the guy. And it's like, yeah, but I've got lots of money.
Yeah.
And my time is what's valuable to me
And
now.
I don't want to go to the minors and talk to kids that 75% of them will never play in the NHL.
Yeah,
It's a waste of time for me.
it is tough. It's like, give me a good NHL job or I'm not going to do it. And that happens.
Jesper Bratt at 8 years, 63 million in New Jersey. Good number?
Sure. He's going to.
What do we care?
Yeah. Over 8
Be
years, that'll be
honest.
fine. That'll be fine.
I just threw that
June
in.
and it's Jesper
You're like,
Bratt.
sure.
All right,
Get
whatever.
me out of here.
Yeah, that's
My
enough.
weekend has started. JB, hey, happy Father's Day on Sunday.
And you too.
And all the fathers out there. Do they get us presents anymore?
I don't know. I just want to watch the golf for 10 minutes. That's
All right. Enjoy it, everybody. Have a great, safe weekend. We are back Monday. Real Kyper and Bourne.